Welcome to today's Explainer. I'll be stepping into the role of your senior network engineer today, and we are going to take a really close look at shaping your network environment with Sangfor's Internet Access Gateway, or IAG. Now, we aren't just rattling off technical specs today. We're actually going to do a strategic consultation to figure out exactly how to deploy this incredibly powerful tool into your specific infrastructure. Right out of the gate, here is the fundamental tension we always face in network engineering. What is your absolute ultimate priority? Is it maximum control, or is it zero network interruption? You see, every single time we drop a new appliance into a network, we're making a really high-stakes trade-off between locking down our business and keeping the business actually running. And today, we're going to solve that exact equation for your organization. Here's our roadmap for this session. First, your overall AIG deployment strategy. Second, route and bridge modes. Third, bypass and single arm modes. Fourth, we'll look at the deployment pros and cons. And finally, assessing your business risk. Okay, let's dive right into part one, your IAG deployment strategy. This is our foundation. The golden rule of Sangfor IAG deployment is actually pretty simple. You can't just plug this box into a rack, power it on, and hope for the best. How we deploy this depends entirely on your existing network environment and what you actually need it to do. Different deployment methods are going to cause drastically different effects on your network. I mean, are we building a brand new network totally from scratch, or are we tiptoeing around a fragile legacy architecture? Your answer to that totally dictates our next move. Moving on to Section 2, Route and Bridge Modes. These are our inline options. First up, we've got route mode. In this topology, the IAG acts as the literal front door to the internet, connecting directly to your ISP. Because it operates as your primary gateway, it handles everything. That means you get to use every single feature the IAG has to offer, assuming you've got the right licenses, of course. We're talking NAT, VPN, DHCP, policy-based routing, the whole shebang. It does it all. So knowing when to use it is absolutely crucial. The best use case for route mode, hands down, is when you're already replacing an existing router or firewall, or you're just building out a network completely from scratch. But we have to consider the impact if something goes wrong. If we deploy in route mode, it drastically changes your existing routing tables and subnets. So the consequence of a hardware failure, it's massive. If the IAG goes down, your internet goes down, period. Now, if that level of risk makes you a little nervous, let's talk about bridge mode. In bridge mode, the IAG acts way more like an invisible monitor. It provides transparent forwarding. This means the IAG is essentially totally invisible to the uplink and downlink devices around it. We are making absolutely zero changes to your existing network topology. You get to keep your current routers and firewalls exactly as they are right now. The real sweet spot here is when you want to add robust access control and auditing, but you really don't want the headache of re-architecting your entire network. But what about failure, right? Well, if the IAG loses power or crashes in bridge mode, because let's face it, sometimes hardware just has a bad day, it features this brilliant hardware bypass function. The physical ports simply bridge together automatically, allowing traffic to flow right through it as if it were just a standard copper cable. Network communication resumes instantly. The trade-off, though, you do lose features like NAT, DHCP, and VPN when you use this mode. All right, let's look at Section 3, Bypass and Single Arm. These are what we call our specialized roles. With bypass mode, the IAG doesn't interrupt the link between the firewall and the core network at all. Instead, it kind of just hangs off to the side, connected to a mirror port on your switch. Think of it like a security camera, just watching the traffic pass by. The switch simply copies the traffic and sends it over to the IAG for analysis. Because it's completely out of band, bypass mode represents the absolute smallest change you could possibly make to your network topology. If the IAG fails, there is literally zero interruption to your network. None. It is the ultimate low-risk deployment. But you pay a pretty steep price in functionality for that safety. It's fantastic for auditing internet behavior and controlling TCP applications like URL filtering. However, it completely misses UDP applications. Things like peer-to-peer software or certain chat apps like QQ Login, they'll slip right past it in this mode. Finally, we have single arm mode. In this setup, the IAG is connected via a single LAN interface straight into your core switch, acting as a highly specialized single-armed proxy. You typically deploy this specifically when you want the IAG to act as a dedicated proxy server, very often replacing an old legacy proxy you've already got running. It's a pretty simple setup. Usually, users just point their browser settings directly to it, or it uses the ICAP protocol to automatically forward web traffic over for inspection. Now, the main failure impact here isn't a total network crash, but rather a severe bottleneck. You absolutely must ensure the IAG has enough bandwidth and session capacity to sustain all your users' web browsing. If it gets overwhelmed, browsing just grinds to a halt. Let's pull all this together in Section 4, Deployment, Pros, and Cons. This is our master matrix. When we lay everything out side by side, you can vividly see the sliding scale of risk and reward. Just look at the extremes. On one hand, root mode gives you every single feature Sangfor has to offer, but it requires the highest network impact and carries the absolute highest risk of total downtime if you don't have proper failsafes. Conversely, with bypass mode, you have virtually zero network impact and bulletproof failure recovery, but you completely sacrifice control over UDP and P2P traffic. Bridge and single arm, they sit right in the middle, offering some really balanced compromises. This matrix right here is basically your cheat sheet for network architecture. Which leads us perfectly into our final section, Part 5, Assessing Your Business Risk. Let's talk brass tacks. Here's my direct advice to you regarding the specific vulnerabilities of the choice you make. If you choose route mode, you literally must invest in redundant links or high availability pairs. Otherwise, a single hardware failure takes your entire business offline. If you go with bridge mode, you have to be incredibly careful with your cabling. The documentation strictly warns against plugging the WAN and LAN into the same layer 2 switch. If you do that, you'll trigger a massive broadcast storm, which is a surefire way to ruin everyone's weekend. For bypass mode, your business risk is a major compliance blind spot. You won't be able to stop users from utilizing UDP-based file sharing. And for single arm, your biggest risk is user experience degradation if you don't properly size the IAG's bandwidth to match your workforce. As your consulting engineer, this is the one big takeaway I really want you to leave with today. The quote-unquote best deployment mode doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's not just about checking boxes on a spec sheet. It is entirely about aligning this powerful technology with your company's unique risk appetite. It's a constant, delicate balancing act between maintaining business uptime and enforcing strict network control. So I want to leave you with this final strategic question to consider before we begin the actual installation. Which trade-off is your business prepared to make? Are you willing to sacrifice some advanced network features for the absolute guarantee of uptime? Or are you ready to restructure your topology to achieve total, uncompromising control? Think deeply about that, and we'll build the exact right network for you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.